Critical EDH. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever so that you can rest podcast. I'm Eric and I'm here with
Logan.
And we are still recovering from what I've been dubbing the Heisenberg head cold.
Yeah, it's been rough. I'm just now starting to get my voice back. I lost it last Friday. Not last Friday. The Friday before last.
Yeah.
And it just started coming back kind of yesterday. So you might hear me clear my throat a few times, and I think we all have some sort of sickness or illness.
Everyone's been recovering in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's been very, very rough. Starting to look like all that green shit in the coloring red.
That's us.
But I mean, like I think it's just kind of emblematic of us putting a lot out on the line for competition and competing and it's hard. Like it's not nothing. And then you go and travel 6 hours to an event, and then you compete all weekend, and then you're like, okay, time to go back home, and then you travel 6 hours back.
Yeah. It definitely I think reinforces that like everything has a cost, and by saying yes to some things, you're kind of automatically saying no to others. And part of that is like when you travel, you just run the risk of getting sick.
Yeah. And your whole crew runs the risk of getting sick. And
yeah,
we all did.
When you get an Airbnb with like 10 people.
10 dudes.
Yeah, good luck just one of you getting sick.
I think Gold Saber-tooth was the only one that got out unscathed. But even he called me today and he's like, my throat's kind of scratchy. And I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Anyway, we won't stick on that too much. So, we do appreciate you sticking with us through our vocal issues, and we'll do our best, the best we can. But we have to bring you the news.
Yeah, the news. The news that culling ritual is really bad for wrong threads.
I just thought this was funny. I thought it would be a good thing to throw up on the board here. But as usual, this episode is sponsored by the Land Go Open, and we're very excited to go to this tournament. It is May 24th and 25th, so that's actually coming up. Not quite. I can't say this month yet, but it's.
Within a month.
Yeah.
The clock's ticking. Hurry up and sign up. It's going to be a great event. I can tell just based off the amount of prep work that they've put into it. We've gotten to talk with some of the behind the scenes people and really, really appreciated how collaborative they've been with us. And so that gives me pretty good confidence that this is going to turn out really well. And then even if, you go to the tournament and you crash out, you still get to be in a fantastic city. I think they mentioned that they're going to have some shuttles running from the hotel or the convention center to kind of like downtown Nashville.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and it's a culmination of events that have been happening this past season, this past year. So, I mean, it sounds awesome. And we're actually going to one of the last, if not the last event this weekend. Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we're really looking forward to this, and we thank them for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you, Land Go Open, and thank you, everyone else who is watching.
Use code Critical10 for 10%.
Holy
off.
Cow! I forgot we had a code.
Yep. We're a little sleepy.
Sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, so our comment of the week was actually on our last Keeping Tabs video, which I was not in because I didn't have a voice. Yeah, this comment is from Budget Pub Stomper H7NH. LR7NH. I don't know what that means. Beginner players need easy combos, mana dorks so they don't mess up their mulligans, and they would recommend playing Malcolm Tana, which is kind of an interesting deck.
It is interesting. Yeah, they say not their list because they play mid-range almost control, but I'd recommend Malcolm Tana with a slight turbo slant. Not just a slight turbo slant. No Final Fortunes. Those are skill testing because it 100% would be their suggestion.
I've never played Malcolm Tana, but I played against Malcolm Tana quite a bit. And I think that having the defined win cons of, what's the pirate?
The Glinthorn.
Yeah. Buccaneer.
Yeah.
Having the, I have A in command zone. I just need to find B. And then, you have various other ways to get there with Reckless Fireweaver and things like that. I think that's pretty neat. That's actually a good. I mean, you're in colors for Ristic, and you have Mana Dorks and stuff like that, and you have Breach combo. Seems pretty spot on to me.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a good deck that could serve someone well in their first few games of cEDH, as well as give them some opportunity to customize. Because even within this comment, they communicate that they have altered their own list to be less turbo and more towards what I assume is a little bit of your playstyle control. And so you can have that, pre-game Rule Zero conversation of someone saying, I've never played cEDH before, I don't know what to do. And you're like, you cast your commander, this one, the blue one, and then all you care about riffle through the deck is this 1/3 creature. So all you're trying to do when you're mulliganing is look for mana and a tutor. And so all you need to do to win the game is get these 2 creatures and have 2 mana.
I could see a pretty flexible list as well, because you could probably do weird things like, I don't know, polymorph into Niv-Mizzet or something, or Hullbreaker Horror, or so that's kind of neat. I might put a list together and just kind of have it with me, and it seems like a pretty accessible deck.
It definitely seems like it would also be a good way to have a beginner friendly version of it that's not handicapping yourself in the colors too much. Because especially blue farm, I think, is a great example where it requires a lot of technical proficiency to play in the way that the deck wants to be played. Or
I wouldn't hand a beginner blue farm.
Yeah, and so even if once you're really familiar with cEDH, it's just a breach deck through and through and through, that's not going to mean something to a beginner player. And while Kinnan is a really, really strong deck, and you can kind of say just make a bunch of mana and try to go infinite, the deck has been around long enough that I think a lot of the brewers have kind of built it around being difficult to interact with, which is good. But that also means that it's difficult to put the pieces together if it's your first few games. And so this was not on my radar when me and Jason were talking about beginner cEDH lists, but this comment is kind of helping me see the teamer light.
My go-to for beginners has been Urza. Because basically I say, look, you're in mono blue. You get to play a color that casuals don't like.
Yeah.
And you can play Ristic Study, you can play copies of Ristic Study, you can play all the counter spells you want. You can play Mana Drain, legit counter spell. You can play whatever you want. And then on top of that, your goal is to make infinite mana. And once you make infinite mana, you have Urza in the command zone. So long as you can cast Urza, you can get there somehow. And what I do is when I hand people Urza, I go, if you can make infinite mana, I will concede to you, and then I'll explain to you the line afterwards.
Yeah.
But your only goal as a beginner is to make infinite mana. And once you're able to do that, and you find a window to do that, that's kind of the stepping stone into, okay, well, maybe I need to find an outlet, or maybe I need to actually find Fairy Mastermind or Walking Ballista or whatever. But I don't know that beginners are ready to grasp that.
Yeah,
they're ready to grasp the combo side, but also the winning side is. Yeah, there's a lot of nuance that goes.
The card pool in cEDH is just so different than the card pool in casual that even if someone is an exceptionally good casual player, they'll just be unfamiliar with a lot of the cards, and then also tempo wise, it's very different. And so I see people struggling with mulligans a lot. So I think a more, because they see a hand that is online turn 4 or turn 5, and they're like, oh, this is great. But that's maybe not the best.
And then one of the things I've been doing lately, since I've been editing a lot of gameplay, is tracking how many turns my games are lasting, or whatever game I'm editing. And that Glarb game that we just posted, it ended on turn 6, middle of turn 6, which sounds really long. But in the game, because I was taking so many game actions, I was like, oh, it must be turn 8, turn 9. But then I'm actually breaking it down, looking at it, I'm like, oh wow, this actually was not quite as long as I thought. So I don't know if there's a particular reason to be super cognizant of what turn it is, because I don't think it ever really matters.
Yeah, not unless you're playing that weird Jace Planeswalker where you can't activate his abilities until the third turn.
But for a casual player, it matters, because on turn 6 they're like, oh, okay, I've set up my kind of engine and stuff. On turn 6 we're foot on the gas, I'm not supposed to be alive this long.
Yeah, I'm life is pain for a turn 6 cEDH player. Get me out of here. I'll concede. Just go to the next game. But yeah, appreciate this comment. Appreciate the perspective it brings. Yeah, I just don't think this deck would have been on my map. But I think that it's definitely way more beginner friendly than the other big teamer deck right now, like Rock Thras. And I also think same thing that me and Jason talked about last episode. I think this is an important conversation for us to be having as a cEDH community, because the goal is to keep growing, keep getting bigger, keep getting more competitive. And that's only going to happen if we can kind of smooth out the pipeline between casual and cEDH competitive. And so I know you keep a few decks on you at all times.
Absolutely.
And I would highly encourage people, if you've got a pod of like 4 or 5 people and you're trying to grow, just always make sure you guys always have 1 or 2 decks on you. You know,
it legitimately costs $26 to proxy a full deck, and then you can buy the cheapest sleeves that you want off of Amazon or whatever. They don't have to be nice Dragon Shields or KMC Hypermats or whatever. Like, just throw it in sleeves so it's sleevable, and then let people rip it. Like, it's not a big deal.
And also, like you said, you can still play a full out competitive game, but you can also just give it the caveat of like, if you make infinite mana, we'll concede and we can just talk it out from there.
Yeah.
And then that makes it that much easier for them to come back the next week, and then a month or 2 down the road, now you've got an extra person for tournaments or something like that. And it's better for
cannon fodder.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of comments, we're just super thankful and happy that all of you are commenting and interacting with our content. I think that one of the comments I made earlier to someone today was like, wow, you guys are so like you engage a lot with your community and stuff like that. And this would not be happening without the community. And I don't think it works without the community.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of podcasts out there, not just cEDH, but just in general, that just put out content and put out content. And like, that's fine. But like, that's not really our style. We need to interact with you guys. We like keeping our finger on the pulse of what's going on and stuff like that. So
yeah,
we appreciate it a lot.
I don't think I truly appreciated how much communication there was back and forth between us and the community until we got sick. But recognizing all the ways that you guys comment in like Discord or on Patreon or in the YouTube videos, and I feel very privileged not only that we get to make content that you guys watch it, but that we also get to have you guys' feedback and incorporate that, and even that our viewership is so engaged that we can dedicate just a portion of our weekly videos to talking about what you guys are talking about. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like, I'm not going to stick on it too much, but like one of the saddest things was showing up the Heisenberg. Literally the day before the Heisenberg, I lost my voice halfway through the trip. Like, all of a sudden, it was like I had a voice, and then I was talking to Austin in the car. We stopped, got out of the car, and I could not speak. And then I was like, okay, well, this sucks because I play a talkie deck. And then the worst part was actually people coming up to me and like saying hi and saying like, oh, we're big fans or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like I really can't talk. Like I but like it's so nice to meet you and all that stuff. Like, but we really do appreciate engaging with the community, especially just whether it's online or in person, and we're very thankful for that. So
yeah, thank you guys.
Keep doing it.
Next tab.
Speaking of tournaments, we had a surprisingly large local tournament.
We ran out of spots. Historically, we've been able to just like add on extra people as long as it was a full pod, but we literally ran out of space in the store.
Yeah, so this Saturday we normally have a $45 buy-in once a month. We call it a 1K. It amounts to like 1K cash plus a card or something. And that was like historically like 40 players, something like that. And we capped this one at 48. And then it filled up the night before, which never happens in cEDH.
Literally never happens.
People don't do that. They're like, oh, we'll just sign up, day of or whatever. No, it sold out the night before. So we're like, oh crap. So I'm calling like the store owner in the morning. I'm like, hey, the event's like sold out, and like there's like a 9-person wait list. And he's like, well, we can accommodate some more. So it actually came out to 52 players.
That's awesome.
And like the store was packed. We had overflow into the dining area. But yeah, it was a great tournament. I actually didn't compete, and you and Jason did.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. I think it's great getting to be in tournaments of this size. For the longest time when we started off, the first one I think we did was on, I was just talking with you about it, I think it was on June 1st of last year.
Yeah.
We were kind of in this like 24, 28 size for a long time, and then it just feels like over the last month or two, we've just really kind of moved up another kind of like slot, and now we're kind of pretty consistently hitting that 4250, which is really, really cool, because it meant that
we had a whole crew that traveled down from Fort Collins.
Oh yeah,
and that's like, for you guys that don't know about Colorado, that's an hour and a half at least from here. People
are driving out. It was tons of fun to get to play games against them. Yep. It was overall a great turnout. All the games I had were really, really fun. This was another instance of us putting a overtime cap of 20 minutes, which I think
20 minutes is starting to feel a little short to me. I'm thinking like 30 is probably the right number.
I could see that happening.
But yeah, I mean, we're liking the overtime cap. I think it's a good way to address the drawn out games, and it really does put pressure on the players to shit or get off the pot, for lack of a better word. Like, make some game actions, do something.
It definitely keeps things moving, but I mean, I didn't feel rushed. Yeah. And I think that while we're continuing to experiment with tournament structures, as I think the vast majority of CEDH is right now, I think this is kind of a solution we found that solves a lot more problems than it creates. I mean, for the most part, almost everyone I've talked to in our local scene has enjoyed specifically the cap on overtime.
Yep. And speaking of the tournament, Jason won.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. The Wonder Kid does it again.
Yeah, he was on Kinnan this time. I got to play against him in top 16. I was on Kodama Ishai again. It was a really, really fun game. Got to have this super long, drawn out
I think you would be on it if you were not sick.
Oh, I was so sick. I was in a game with Austin.
Okay, we say we're sick. We're not like walking around contagious like zombies sick. It's just like we're recovering from being sick, kind of out of that, and like whatever we have is not going away quickly. So it's just like, you're sleeping 10 hours a day. You wake up, you're like, oh, God, I gotta go to the tournament.
That's like, a good point. Like, one of my strategies during the tournament wasn't like sneezing on my opponent's cards. It was like making sure I bring enough cough drops so that my throat's okay. But yeah, I was
like whatever we have seems to be like attacking the like vocal cords, and it's just very strange.
And like, even though like,
but you're just like not 100%. I guess what we're saying.
No, like the entire time. I was both kind of cold and also really sweaty, and that's just like not how you want to be playing in a tournament.
And usually in Magic, you're just really sweaty. Like, it's not.
Sweaty. In my first game, I was talking with Austin. I think I missed something like 10 plus Ristic Study triggers.
Ooh, that's sick.
Yeah, somehow still managed to win.
But like that's the thing. It's like I've seen you play the deck at your peak, and I'm like, okay, this is the deck for you, at least in the current moment.
Yeah, right now, this moment in time.
And like the fact that you're able to top 16 in subpar condition is just really impressive.
I was very proud of myself, and I was also talking to Jason, who a week prior had been sick and had taken NyQuil instead of Dayquil, and then upon finding that out,
we're walking into the venue.
Monster.
We're walking into the venue of the Heisenberg, and he goes, "Hey Logan, that medicine was on the counter." He said, "Well, I was supposed to take the green one or the orange one?" And I was like, "Okay, one's Dayquil and one's NyQuil. What do you think the answer is, Jason?" "Oh, well, I took the green one because that was the one that was closer to me." I'm like,
oh man.
Anyway,
he is the monster, bro. He is the one who knocks.
We actually had a lot of super interesting decks play at this tournament. A couple, I guess a lot of banned decks.
Yeah, strong showing of Kinnan. I think a lot of like kind of Thrasios Plus showing up.
Do you see the deck that's in second?
Dude. Is that wrong side?
Yeah.
From what I can tell, wrong side has never felt so right.
so our friend Jax, I actually didn't play in the tournament. I helped out our local friend Jay. He was judging. I kind of just did the TOing, and we streamed. We recorded some games. Those will start coming out on our Patreon in a few weeks here. But I gave Jax. I said, "Look, you didn't play this at the Heisenberg. I got second in the Heisenberg Redemption with the deck." I said, "It's your time to play it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then like, I see him grinning ear to ear all day. He's like, "Dude, this deck fucks."
Yeah. Jax is, sorry, for people who don't know, Jax is very traditionally a Derevi player. I think he is one of the best Derevi players I've played against.
Yeah.
As well as he's played a lot of Glarb, which he's really good on too. But you finally managed to talk him into playing one of your lists, and it seems like it worked really, really well for him. Never got the chance to play against him, but it seemed like all the pods he was in, it was going really, really well.
Of the people in the top 4 that had a chance to beat Jason, it was Jax.
Yeah, I think he was best lined up.
I mean, he was really close, but somehow Jason convinced Kevin, the Ultra player, to counter Jax's draw engine, and Jax is sitting there going like, "Why is this happening?" But like, yeah, I mean, it was close for sure. That finals game will be worth posting for sure.
It was really interesting. A lot of super fun games. I think a lot of people are on Bant right now. Comedian was just actually took Yoshi Thras to a tournament as well.
Yeah, I think we've got that one up when
I think what I've liked about Kodama Ishai, right? Looking at the deck, Commander agnostic, right? You get mana,
you get all the draw engines.
You get a ton of tutors to battlefield with green. You get all the draw engines you could ever want, and then you have silences, which are really great for all your opponent's draw engines, because a lot of the times
you can just resolve the draw engine issue by dropping a Grand Abolisher and like, draw your cards with reverse stick. I don't care. Like, whatever. Yeah.
And so I think it feels really good, but also it seems like I've got a suspicion that Turbo's about to come back in a big way, because I think I've been cracking the joke that instead of playing like win-conless stacks, I've been playing win-conless mid-range.
Win-conless Bant.
Win-conless Bant. And I've got a feeling that like Turbo is just gonna start getting there first. So we'll see. I don't know.
We'll see, but
Bant feels really good right now.
That's a couple more things about this tournament. At the end of round 3, we had 4 rounds total. I thought it would be a good idea for Critical EDH, or I guess myself, to sponsor a redemption event. So a $0 entry redemption event. And I was like, look, half of you are not going to make it. You're not even on winning ends. Like, I don't want you to leave the store because like, we all came to play, and you know, like, not that I have like any, you know, I don't care whether you leave the store or not, but like, I want you to hang out and like play and have a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, you know what? How about this? We got the software open. I'll run the redemption event. We need at least 16 players to do it. We actually got 20 people to sign up. So that means we did like a bottom cut of 20. Yeah. So like, then that leaves out of 52, you cut off the bottom 20, that's 32. Everybody else is fighting winning ins for the round 4 and all that stuff. So that was great. And then I said, how about this? At round 4, we're going to start the redemption event. We'll do 3 rounds, no top cut. Top 4, you can like grab some cards in my binder. And like, it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, people just jammed games, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it's one of the positives of like keeping tournaments shorter is not only do the people who do make top cut and do go to top 4 have more like mental energy, and they don't have to just like, this happens at one of our local game stores a lot. Like, they don't even get to top 4 until like, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And so they just kind of have to split. But it also frees up stuff for like redemption events. Yeah. So yeah, huge kudos to Jason. He did a really, really good job. Kinnon's not even like his main deck.
I mean, okay, let's be fair. He was playing Freedom Waffles Kinnon list. So yeah, I mean, you combine a really good player with the number 1 Kinnon players list, and then Blight Club. Oh my God, they're like, we need the swag, so they showed up with the Jason fit. It was so funny.
yeah. They coordinated to come dressed up in their white Adidas hoodies, some shorts, and some flip flops. It was really, really
Hazen
funny.
Didn't have flip flops, man. That was like Hazen actually got top 4, so it was kind of funny to see Jason sitting there with Hazen.
Yeah, I think
wearing the
one of the top 16 pods was exclusively like BC members, right?
Oh yeah. Oh man, I didn't find that. I didn't bring out the picture, but yeah, I was helping set up for top 16. And everybody sat down, and there's all these yellow Blight Club mats. I was like, only one of you guys can get to top 4, right? They're like, yeah. So,
it was a really fun tournament, yeah.
And then, actually, Emily got 4th in redemption.
Woo, yay, Emily.
So that was really cool. But it was nice to, it was just a really good weekend.
Good vibes, good time. Speaking of good vibes, I know a lot of people describe us as being in mid-range hell right now, but Gold Saber-tooth is pitching mid-range heaven.
Yep.
And they had a tournament up in New York City.
Was it New York City? It was somewhere in New York, upstate New York.
Upstate New York?
Which is not New York City.
It's not New York City.
Yeah.
I have so much to learn.
Okay. Yeah. But there were some good names there. A comedian was there. He got fourth. And then a sort of budget Glarb list got first.
Oh, heck yeah.
So,
heck yeah.
Protean Hulk Glarb list. Shout out to Thomas Dobert.
Dude, let's go Thomas.
Yeah. So we'll have his link or his list linked in the description.
Raccoon Hulk. That's fun. I always love when Protean Hulk gets to make it into like a winning list. I think it can be a little bit clunky to kind of consistently play around, but I think everyone's been in at least one game where someone just like resolves a Hulk underneath everybody's noses, and then you just put together a pile that no one can interact with, and then there you go. You just win.
Yeah, I like Hulk as a archetype. I don't think it fits Glarb particularly well, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and I can't argue with the results here.
Yeah, it looks like they did pretty good.
Yeah,
I think with cards like Protean Hulk, there's always the question of like how well it synergizes with the color shell / commander as well as like play style. And so I think one of the reasons Glarb has been seeing a lot of play is the kind of versatility of the commander.
Gosh, it's so flexible.
I mean, when you have like,
my list is the only correct list, but
for sure, yeah, no doubt. No.
That's definitely not true. I mean, yeah, you have Doomsday Glarb, you have Midrange, you can even squeak in a Turbo Glarb, and then there's Protean Hulk, and I like to play the control variant,
which you do really, really well, and I think it fits your personality really well. And so,
but if you're out there playing Glarb, I'm not really gonna yuck your yum on how you play it, but
there's no wrong way to rib it as far as Sultai is concerned. But yeah, congrats.
For sure.
Had to do it to him. Good work, Thomas.
We have a couple other really quick tournaments coming up. So the tournament last Saturday at Enchanted Grounds was only a $20 buy-in. We're back to the $45-ish buy-in. If you top 16 the last one, you get free entry into this one coming up, which is super cool.
Something that I think more tournaments should do. As we talk with more people, we're talking to more people from developing scenes, and I think this is a great way to just incentivize people to come back. And I also know Papa Squats has also told us something their store does, is that if you sign up for the next tournament at the end of this one, essentially, you get a discount as well.
Oh, okay. That's actually sick.
And then, if people are already signed up, they're that much more incentivized to get other people to come.
But even if it's committed. Like a $5 discount, like I'd do that.
Yeah. As if it gets like one extra person to come, like it basically evens out in the wash for the TO or the store.
I think part of the thing that really pushed the attendance for our last one was that like a week before there were 29 people signed up, and then everyone goes, I need to sign up before spots run out and all that stuff. So yeah, if you can get these lazy ass people to sign up early, however you can do that. Oh yeah, I'm 100% included in that. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
I didn't sign up till day of, and fortunately for me, Logan hadn't dropped yet. So
I was like, I'm gonna drop.
Was super fortunate because I almost wasn't able to play.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so this one's actually for a Mox Diamond. The last one was for a foil Chrome Mox, but Mox Diamond is a big prize. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
So that's definitely where we'll be. But yeah,
actually, there's a slight problem with this one. This one coincides the same date as Land Go.
Oh no!
So we're either not going to be here, and this is going to happen, and we're not going to get Mox Diamond, or we're going to move this slightly.
Okay,
we'll see.
Well, stay tuned.
It's still coming up.
But either way, in addition to messing with like run timers and stuff like that, we're also trying to find more ways of making it easier for people to continue attending tournaments.
And just rewarding for continued attendance. And
we want to play CEDH. You probably want to play CEDH.
Yeah.
But in the significantly near future, this weekend, we're going to the last chance qualifier at Dungeons and Java down the Springs.
Yep. And I still am not 100% clear on how this all ties into each other, but I know that this is the qualifier, or if you win this, you are qualified for the Land Go Invitational. So if I'm missing any details on that, please correct me. But this is definitely related to the other tournament in which we are sponsored for, and we're really looking forward to this because it's just kind of like a little mini preview event.
Yeah, it'll be super fun. I don't think either one of us has ever played at Dungeons in Java. I do know I have played against a lot of the people from the Springs, and boy, do they know how to cEDH. So
Didn't you lose to one in top 16?
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Not this weekend. This time I win finally.
Yeah.
No, they definitely know how to play down there. And so I'm expecting some fierce competition. I'm definitely going to be getting a full
they're all
night's rest
great.
beforehand.
Maybe we can catch Torrance for an interview.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If Mardu Enjoyer is out there, we'll have to set aside some time for a deck tech. Super excited.
This is coming up Saturday, so looking forward to that. And I don't know what I'm going to play, but we'll figure it out.
Dude, from the cradle to the guild. Till the something, go listen to songs from 2006.
How do you make that reference again?
Dude, this is super exciting.
This is the event that Papa Squats or Nick is promoting. Our friend of the channel, really good Magda player, and now really good Glarb player.
Super good Glarb player. And
dude,
I think
killing it on
I
Glarb.
sincerely apologize if I get your name wrong, but Gemini, I believe, was the person who was repping it at Heisenberg.
Okay.
Seems like a super great crew. I know the videos that I've seen coming out of the event spaces this is going to be in look super duper cool.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to go. Fingers crossed that I can go. But I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get Gold Saber out to go too.
So a discussion I would love to have is, so we talked about a tournament that we had this last weekend.
Yeah.
One that we have this upcoming weekend. And then this is the weekend after the Land Go Open.
Yep.
So me and you have been...
I need a hyperbaric time chamber. I need to get better.
Yeah. I think... something I have enjoyed about playing in the amount of tournaments that we have this season is I think it's taken a lot of the nerves out of it. I remember I used to get so stressed or anxious in the mornings before tournaments. And at this point, I think I've just exposure therapied my way through it of like...
I'm more nervous for the content I'm making or the interviews I'm doing and stuff like that than I am for the actual tournament itself. I definitely... that's all gone away. And I think that's... you're right. It's like exposure therapy or just the sheer number and like just brute forcing it. It's like, I mean, like if I don't place well, oh well, there's the one next weekend.
I think it's definitely helping with my mental in games as well. Like in this last tournament I played in, I was in a win and in on round 4. And I think in previous situations I've been in that I've really felt the pressure, felt that chip on my shoulder. I'm like, these people are good. I want to be good. I have to win this game. But this last weekend, I mean, obviously I want to win, but I think I went into it knowing that like, there's no amount of pressure I can put on myself that's going to like increase the quality of my performance. The most valuable thing is that I be cool, calm, and collected. I've been playing good throughout this entire day. I've been making some mistakes here and there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what matters most is that like, I know when it is I need to dial in, when I need to focus up. And, I just believe in myself. And if I don't get there, I don't get there, and that's okay. But the me that got me this far is the me that's going to be playing in the game, and that's enough for me.
I think the thing that's helped me most with tournaments is finding familiarity in not necessarily like the decks or cards that I'm playing, but more of like my surroundings. So when I was playing in Heisenberg, I was like, oh, I'm with the boys like I am every weekend. And I'm like, oh, I'm using the same play mat that I always use. Yeah. I'm like, just like, these are all things that I'm like, it's not that I need to worry about, but like, it's just another checkbox of like, oh, this is what I do every time I play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're sitting to the right of me. Yeah. I've got the same play mat I always use. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter that I'm in like Albuquerque,
Yeah. I mean, you're just playing Magic.
Yeah.
And I think I have really enjoyed, I don't think I would say I'm getting tournament fatigue. I think I would just say I'm tired, and that could be because I'm sick. But I still
we have a ridiculous schedule.
I still feel like I would feel very comfortable saying I would be extremely happy if I could double or triple the amount of cEDH that I'm already playing, which is insane considering the amount that we play.
Yep.
But it's so much fun. It's so cool. And I think I am really grateful that the amount that we're playing, just like you said, I think has given me more opportunities to ground myself, develop these rhythms.
Yeah, I think grounding yourself is kind of what I was looking for. But yeah, go ahead.
And then especially like I think, you know, we practice enough as well that even though like I have not top 16 to every tournament that we've gone to, but when you don't play at your best, you know, take a deep breath, figure out what it was that you were doing that you can improve on, what's in your control, what's in your sphere of influence. Work on it, but not expect it to like change overnight. And then, you know, at some point, like either something will happen in the meta that allows you to kind of wiggle your way through, or you'll just be, you know, on a hot streak someday, or eventually you'll just improve in all the small ways that people do when they play a lot of Magic, and then you'll just start playing better. That's what happens.
I mean, you can be the best, or you could be Jason or whatever, but you literally cannot win every game. It's not possible. And like even the best players, their win rate's like 50% or thereabouts, maybe a little higher. But that said, like there's 4 players in every game. There has to be a loser.
Absolutely. And so I think in addition to getting that confidence from,
well, there has to be 3 losers. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 of us. I think something that's also been beneficial is seeing a lot of players I incredibly respect and who are way, way, way better than me also lose a ton. Because I think a lot of times, like what we talk about is like the top 4 or the top 16. But there are so many players in the Denver area, and almost all of them I look up to in some capacity, and getting to go to all these tournaments and get to see them, you know, wash out or just like have bad days. I think it's really important as players to give yourself permission to not always be, you know, playing at your peak, right?
Yeah, I mean, like at SCG Con, I was sitting down to play a casual game between rounds, and it was me, Pigeon, Wounded Satellite, and I forget who the 4th player. I think it was Kevin. And I'm sitting across, and I was like, "Oh, you know, how'd you do in the tournament?" Pigeon's like, "Oh, I dropped already." And I was like, "Should I be dropping?" Like, and then I dropped like immediately after. But like, I know the Pigeon's insane. Like he's really good, player. Right? But like, just to hear him be like, "Oh no, fuck it," like I dropped, like you know, and like that's kind of like a relief for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of like things that I've been kind of more nervous about than like not winning, I'm actually just like, I find myself a little nervous to like lose in like a really horrible way. Like I don't mind losing games that are like, oh, you know, I fought really hard, I played to my outs. Like, okay, you had it, I didn't.
Yeah,
like, that's fine.
They drew a mind break trap, you drew a land. Oh well, you know.
Yeah, like that happens, and like that's variance and all that stuff. But like, it hasn't happened recently. But losing in a way that I'm like, oh, I actually made a massive miscalculation or massive error or just poor judgment or like that's kind of the part that eats at me a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely sympathize with that. I don't know if it's happened in a tournament setting, but definitely in some practice games or in online games, I have like resolved the tutor and then realized I literally had win on the spot, or all these like random things where it's like, or someone is so clearly like telegraphing a win, and I'm just in my own head like, oh, I can't wait to be doing such and such 3 turns from now, and then
that's when you cope and you say you're limit testing.
Limit. Okay, you know, I'm just testing.
Yeah, I'm just testing how bad I can be.
Yeah, I just want to see how low I can go. But it does, like, I think in the same way that in a positive way, I am continuing to experience how I can push the ceiling of my capacity as a player. Having had those negative experiences at the floor, I don't really know if that like ever goes away. I think we still possess the capacity to make insanely large mistakes in tournament games.
I think part of it for me is like a little bit of imposter syndrome because I'm having mild success.
Yeah.
Like I'm rank.
You're at 18th right now?
18 in championship points. I have 1,000 points. But like, also we're making content. People are starting to know who we are. And I'm going to sit down at the table and be like, oh, Logan's a fucking idiot. Like, you didn't see that. Like, you know, I don't
after the game,
that.
After the game, like half the tournament's going to be talking about how you know, like wheeled right into an OBM or something like that. Yeah,
I would never.
I would. I would. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's something I'd be interested hearing. Not because I know I've gotten the chance to talk with some other creators or people who have been in the format for a long time, but also hearing other people who I think me and you're kind of at the 1 year, 2 year mark, where we've kind of gotten the chance not just to establish ourselves as cEDH players, but to improve on and refine that identity as cEDH players. And that brings with it a sense of not only like honesty, of like, oh, this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm bad at, but also the vulnerability.
It's weird too because we're
gonna make mistakes at some point.
We're not like working on the fundamentals anymore.
No,
and not to say that like we're perfect, but like that's not what my main concern is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's all these like little intangibles that I'm like, that's the part I need to get better at, and the parts that like keep me up at night or wake me up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
and anyway. Go to the cradle to the kill.
Like, sorry that we let our minds wander.
Oh, that's classic.
Go get yourself a guy's cradle.
It's been a few minutes since Eric and I have been recording a video together, especially because I lost my voice for 2 weeks. But we're really looking forward to this event, and I think you were bringing up about our schedule. I think we have like a week or two off, kind of in the middle of all that.
Yeah,
and then it's like,
do we have a week or two off, or have we just forgotten that we're supposed to be doing something?
I'm sure there's something that's not on our calendar yet that should be, but
a revealed force of will or something.
So hopefully we can go to that. And speaking of kind of weird things we've been seeing, let's talk about a few cards that have been popping up on our radars.
For those of you who don't know, part of our preparation process for these episodes is we try to compile a lot of the links and the content, both in the days beforehand, but also the day of. And something that Jason specifically does is he will kind of dig through a lot of top 16s, both stateside and kind of like globally, and find lists that are running some kind of like new cards or cards that aren't as common. And Supreme Verdict is something that has been showing up in a lot of blue farm lists.
Without even looking up lists, I think I would have suggested this card because the amount of times that I've heard it talked about in the past like 2 weekends had to exceed like at least 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And like that's just, word of mouth. Oh, hey, I'm like, I'm thinking about Supreme Verdict, or I'm running it, or I'm, screw Rog their ass. It's a card that I'm a really big fan of. And I think Blue Farm can take okay advantage of it, but decks like Shorkai really take the advantage.
It's interesting to me because even though it's not in Azorius colors at all, the vast majority of decks that could run Supreme Verdict that are in tournaments, I imagine would also be able to run Toxic Deluge. But I think that Toxic Deluge is such something that like a Rog Thrash player is going to fight tooth and nail over, because this will just end the game for them. And I think that like,
I mean, if I could run this in Rog Sai, I might consider it.
Yeah.
Like if it were one double black blue, I'd probably run it. Like it's I love spells that say this spell can't be countered.
Spell can't be countered.
Because then it eats a force of will, and you're like, okay, anyway, like, here's my spell in the stack.
I think board wipes are going to be coming back in a big way.
Yeah.
Like creature combos have been creeping in for a while. I think post Dockside, they kind of like started off, and then they've just slowly with like TNT or Kinnan getting really big, or
Magda,
or like a bunch of Bant decks being kind of in vogue right now. And I think that if you're not in those, you don't want to run a ton of like strict Serenade or like Stern Scolding effects. And so this is a way to more just kind of like, okay, I'm done. Supreme Verdict.
What's really interesting about this card that I think a lot of people can't get over the casting cost, because they're like, oh, double white. But like all the decks that want to run this are already trying to make double white for Grand Abolisher or Ranger Captain.
Yep.
And so like that doesn't really make this spell any harder to cast than, if it were two generic white blue, like it would be the same.
And then also like if you're putting this in your list, like it's because you see it as a need, and that I think will kind of like naturally lend itself to the way you fetch lands, making it so that I don't think this is going to be too difficult of a spell to cast.
Yeah, I really hate saying this, But like, oh wait, is this the no?
Whoa.
Isn't there a secret layer of this? That's the Fortnite one, or is that a different card?
I guess it's a different one. I'm not seeing
I don't
anything.
know. Anyway,
That's pretty cool.
I think the
verdict.
the joke that we always make about cards like this is that it pitches to Chrome Mox and Force of Will and Force of Negation, but like, as many times as we use that joke, it like becomes more true every time we say it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad.
It's really not.
And 4 mana is like totally on rate.
Okay, let's see. What decks do you play that this could go in? Are you in any decks that touch in blue-white?
Yes, but none that I want to play this in. I'm not playing this in Krark Ishai.
Oh, you're not playing this in Krark? Oh, that's true.
Because I'm going to wipe my Tavern Scoundrel, Krark.
I don't think I can run it in Kodama Ishai either. Are we part of the problem?
We're definitely part of the problem.
How many decks are we on that are on Mirror Maid, Clever Impersonator, and Copy Enchantment? I think all of my decks are.
Probably most of mine.
Yeah, I think we're part of the problem, bro.
But like,
okay, if you're playing against us, maybe you should be on this card.
True. But also, I think like that it'll be the day when Jason sleeves us up.
Dude,
like,
when he unsleeves
he's gonna go,
containment
guys,
to put this in.
Guys, it's gas.
Guys, it's gas. Supreme verdict, big W.
Yeah, I think the card's cool. I think it's gonna, decks like, I think Shorkai is probably the best deck for it.
Yeah.
But then if you sort of extend that, then it's probably like Blue Farm and maybe some sort of Esper pile that's like okay with it.
I can see Tivit kind of being into this.
Oh yeah, it's totally a Tivit card,
dude. Okay, Master of Keys probably.
Yeah, Master of Keys doesn't happen until later, like casting the commander.
Yeah,
and like it doesn't really care about creatures.
Yeah, like on your Esper Sentinel. Interesting.
We'll have to tell Austin.
Interesting. Sylvan Scrying. This is
I don't know about this one.
This one's hilarious to me. I continue to live in this Twilight world where I was looking up a bunch of random green cards for Lumra like a year ago, and now because of the rise of Rockthras, everyone's like, "Oh, did you hear about Tempt with Discovery?" And Sylvan Scrying is one of those.
Is this a Lumra card?
This was a Lumra card for a while. Just because I'm down to like 4.
What if it's not good enough for Lumra? Is it good enough for like a 3-color pile?
Well, Lumra specifically doesn't want instants and sorceries. But
it wants lands.
It does want lands, but it.
I still don't understand this deck.
It's pretty good. Sylvan Scrying, I think, is big right now because of like Aboro Breeze Collar lines, because you don't just want your guy's Cradle.
Oh, you kind of want like the other piece in the hand.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is popular because people are already on Crop Rot. They are already on Soaring Mycospawn, and they're realizing that like while land strategies are really, really strong, you need sometimes just a little bit extra to get you over the line. And Sylvan Scrying can do that.
I mean, I totally see this in Rockthras, where this could say 3 and a green, and Rockthras would probably still run it. Like they just don't care.
Yeah. It gets you Deserted Temple. It gets you Manamo.
There's Talon Gates to hand.
Yeah. I mean, there's worlds where like, if you're a Derevi player who already was able to like untap your One Ring like 3 or 4 times, this lets you get a Manamo and then draw like 10 cards. Not to say that Derevi should be running it, but I think that as we continue to see these more kind of cradle farmy decks, the more that people are specifically wanting to search for tutors that give you land, like universal tutors. And if you're a land-based deck, even though this only gets land, it gets what you want. So it's basically like a demonic tutor in Rockthras.
So speaking of Cradle Farm, I destroyed 4 lands in a single turn with Krark Ishai and Sundering Eruption.
Hey, yo, let's go.
And let me just pull it up real quick. Sundering Eruption, I think, is going to start seeing more play.
During Eruption.
Did I? Oh,
don't worry,
cool.
it'll get you there.
It'll
get you there.
The keyboard fell asleep, and there we go. During.
Dude, it's a land that kills land. It's a traitor.
You can bolt yourself for an untapped land, or you can kill a cradle.
Do you think more people should be on this?
I do. Unfortunately, it doesn't pitch to Force of Will. But
where color shell wise, like where do you draw the line? I feel like if you're on 2 colors,
2-color, yeah,
3 colors,
depends.
yeah,
Like Quarkishai is extremely red leaning, 3-color, right? So like it's like 48% red or something like that, and like this is totally fine.
I can see Maelstrom Wander on this.
Oh yeah, because you just cascade into it and then you're like, oh, it's free.
Yeah. Like instead of me getting a bunch of mana, I'll take you off 20 mana.
But I just think like these incidental cards that say destroy target land are gonna start showing up.
Do you think like Inala goes on this?
No, it's red. Inala doesn't want red.
Itali could probably get away with this.
Yeah, this is like that's probably a good deck to. I mean, like Magda runs this, right?
Yeah.
It lets you go down a land and also be on a land, and then also have the flexibility to.
Do you think Elsha goes on this? Do you think we're like?
I don't know. I have a really hard time evaluating cards for Elsha.
I wonder if, hang on. If you're writing a comment about AP mid lane, stop, dial in, Holden Prio. Is Rao on Sundering Eruption?
Lets him go down another land.
lets you.
I don't know if he can go into the negatives with lands, but like, I mean, you know, maybe he'll go down to like 12 or something with this.
Man, I'm so fascinated by Rao as a list.
The deck's been putting up results.
It's been putting up results. Lamora is picking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. If like real talk, Holden, tell me about cards like this in Rao because
tell me why not. I feel like he's gonna say no, but like. I don't think no is a good enough answer.
Yeah, because if I had to suspect, I think that one of the reasons this isn't going to see more universal play in a lot of decks is because it doesn't cantrip and it kind of only does the one thing. I think you need to be a little bit more versatile. But I do think there's a world where it kind of becomes this weird control shell where you play Krark as this list. They just, either I draw 10 cards or I destroy 10 lands. You pick which one.
You're gonna run out of basics. Okay, you run 2. Fine, I'll keep destroying you. I'll destroy your basics. Yeah. Where are they? Oh no, they're in the yard.
Oh no, they're gone. Oh no, my basics.
My point of bringing this up was I think that like with all these Cradle decks, Yoshi Thras, Rog Thras, TNT, all these decks, there has to be some sort of measured response to them. I don't think that strip mine is the answer. I don't think that stuff like that is. But this is kind of like in the right direction where, unfortunately, it's in red. Yeah. It's not in like black or something like that.
Yeah. I think there is a 2-cost black spell that can destroy a target land. But
there's like Assassin's Trophy.
But I don't think it's a land on the back. Assassin's Trophy is good. I do agree with you that I think that like... While I love getting to run Wasteland because of a specific mono green list, in general, I think in order to run a lot of those effects, you kind of have to be an Abzan because I think that's where a lot of the
you don't want to be an Abzan.
You don't want to be an Abzan.
Yeah.
Like you get to do a lot of really cool stuff with like the Gitrog or Necrobloom, but I think having access to an effect like this in red and having a land on the back, I think lets you kind of get over that
I
hump.
would love to see an effect that's somewhat repeatable. To destroy lands and give your opponents a token of a multicolor land.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, I don't know what the effect would be. It's like maybe pay, 5 or something like that.
It's like I feel like what you're describing is essentially like a kite sail larcenist effect, where like you take away their land and then you turn it into. So you're not taking them off mana.
But you're also like not forcing them to search or like rip out another land from their deck, right? Because like this type of spell is a normal land destruction spell. It's very like, you destroy a land, you still have a land, but it's worse or whatever. Yeah. But like, I don't want it to be worse necessarily. I just want it to like not have the utility it has. Yeah. So like, okay, I'm gonna destroy your Minamo or Minamo or however you want to say it, and then instead of Minamo goes to the graveyard. But its controller creates a token of a land, like basically a command tower.
Man, that would be super interesting.
But then you could like somehow repeat it.
Yeah, the land destruction design space is something that I think hasn't been explored a ton. I think a huge portion of that is because of the major feel bad that it has.
Well, yeah, they talk about it all the time in the brackets.
They talk about it all the time in the brackets. But I do think,
but we need it desperately.
I think that as cEDH continues to move towards this, like we're not quite at there's not really like an Amulet Titan deck in cEDH in the degree that it's present and it's kind of like an evergreen archetype. But I think we're kind of headed there with the power creep, and I think that means that having answers for that type of deck is equally important, because I think people can be a little tight-fisted on using their Besagers, because you're like, if someone plays a Cradle, you're going to try and save it for after they like silence or something.
Yeah, but like if you're Besagering a Cradle, it's like probably too late.
Mm-hmm.
Like most likely. And then also like, do I Besage you the Cradle, or do I Besage you like the Basalt Monolith? Or, you know, like...
It forces you to do really bad math. And also, like...
the Besage you is only one answer.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, every green deck runs it, but then you have to be in green.
And also, like most of your ways to tutor it are, like, 2 battlefield. Unless you're playing Sylvan Scrying.
Ooh. That's kind of gas.
Which is, like, it's a Spellseeker viable way of getting... uninteractable interaction.
Well, and you can also look at the patterns of what cEDH players are looking for in combos, like the Obora Breeze Caller, and they're like, oh, well, this is uninteractable, gets me infinite mana instead of like Kin and Basalt.
Yeah, and
like that's still really strong, and people are still running Kin and Basalt, but you're seeing these other combos pop up because they're virtually uninteractable. And then also they use like lands, like no one's gonna...
Lands and or activated abilities are becoming increasingly important as we get increasingly more Rhystic studies.
That too, yeah. Like
Hullbreaker Horror lines, you can't pull them off unless you use your first bounce or two to get rid of the Rhystic study, then the fish.
But even then, they're still drawing cards.
Yeah, and so you have to use up more resources to get to infinite mana, and so I think that's part of where lands are just becoming a bigger part of our format. And then we just have that Gruul Final Fantasy one, where when it ETBs, you can universal tutor for any land in 2 battlefield.
I'm not looking at that up.
And I just think that like. I can see why we, and I think a lot of cEDH are feeling the need to have more consistent responses for these play styles.
And also just like I need like strip mine to not be a negative effect for me as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's greedy, or maybe there's like not a correct design space for that. Mm-hmm. But then like maybe we should talk about banning Cradle.
Whoa, that'd be really interesting. I mean, I'm
not saying that like I don't want Cradle to be banned.
Yeah,
I want there to be sufficient counterplay to Cradle, and like maybe Supreme Verdict is the type of card that is that, right? Like,
yeah,
or maybe it's Fire Covenant because that's an instant.
Yeah, that is so fascinating because I feel like when people talk about banning cards, they almost always talk about banning a blue or a black card. I feel like
Cradle's colorless.
That's true.
No, but like I don't talk about banning cards a lot because I don't like.
You really
cards.
don't.
But I think it's worth having a discussion over, because like if we're not seeing the design space move in the right direction, and like these strategies are becoming more and more common, it's going to be a runaway effect where there's not really an answer for it, or there's not really a counterplay. Maybe the counterplay is just playing that strategy, and that's not a healthy pattern.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to think about...
And Rhystic Study is the same way, right?
Yeah. Like you and Jason talks about this, you have to make mana and draw cards. And I think, and potentially I know this says more about us or our local meta, but we've been going so hard into drawing cards because you need less and less cards to make a ton of mana. Like you can put all these copy enchantment effects in because,
or you just draw a bunch of free spells, and then
because as long as you have a Gaia's Cradle and a Pact of Negation and a Force of Negation and a Force of Will and a Misdirection and a Commandeer, you'll be fine. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, I'm sure people have thoughts about that.
Oh yeah,
I'm interested to hear about it.
And like, it's not a hot take for me. I'm not like making any statements about it. But I'm just saying like it's something we should start to think about. Is if design space is not moving in the right direction, maybe we should start to look at these things and say there's something we should advocate for, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah, and it definitely is interesting because like most of the other lands from that cycle, like Tolarian Academy and Caracas, are also banned. Let's start with Sarah's Sanctum and then see.
Speaking of cards that should. A version of Emrakul's banned, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Gosh, I've been evaluating this card in Glarb because like there's so many times where I'm like looking at my yard for a Yogg's Will or something, and I'm like, is this an Emrakul angle?
This is Emrakul, Mr. Cool, as it were. Is he has been I would say over the last 3 months. He was in a lot of Lumra lists. He was in Kinnan lists. He was in versions of Tim's Marnius lists. He's been showing up as a mid-range buster.
Tim was saying that
he was a Shorkai. He was in Haynes Shorkai. Tim
was saying that a Marnius player at his tournament was kind of waffling about the card, and Tim's like, "No, just play it. Just play it." He's like, "Don't listen to what people tell you." And Tim like had like walked over to the table, and like the players like getting up and doing the duck duck goose of like walking around to the other player's seat, and he's like, "Yes, dude." But yeah, I mean the card is sick. Like it's really cool, but I don't know how this converts into a win necessarily. Like I know it causes a lot of problems, and it can be that mid-range breaker, but also like does it solve problems or just create new ones, or like
oh man, boy do I love creating new ones. I think something that's interesting about this card is it represents flexibility and utility, but in so many abnormal ways, right? If we want to think about ways that we usually want a card to have utility, we want it to be good late game and early game. There is no world whatsoever, never will there ever be a world where Emrakul is good on turn 1.
So you're saying it's more akin to a Mnemonic Betrayal than
it only is relevant mid to late game, but then as soon as we broach its the Venn diagram, once we're in Emrakul's circle, it represents so much because you just get to take all the resources that another player has and now they're yours. And you can just demonic consult someone's entire deck away past the turn, and when they have their extra turn, they'll just draw out their deck. The other thing you can do is, I think if you're in a Marnius that is on Trouble in Pairs, I don't know if this is correct, but I believe that when the player goes to take their extra turn, it's just skipped.
You can control the target opponent during that player's next turn. Wow.
Yeah.
So
and then
when they regain their turn, it's an extra turn, so they skip it.
So let's say you go after me in turn order. On my turn, I cast Emrakul.
Yeah.
On your turn, I take your turn. The next turn, you take another turn. But if I play Trouble in Pairs,
or if anyone has a Trouble in Pairs,
like you just don't get a turn. And so there's a bunch.
Fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like ways you can
Chain of Vapor this back to your hand and cast it again.
You can do all sorts of crazy stuff with this once it's past like turn 3. And so I think that's a really interesting dynamic for me. Is it also doesn't pitch to fucking anything. Like,
but like, do you care? I mean, like the card's that powerful. I don't know.
It's a super powerful effect. It's incredibly unique, and it's got.
This also seems like a Shorkai card.
Hayne was on it for a while.
Oh, okay.
Because he was in a game that he used this to force a draw. That you were in.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
God, I've slept since then.
I think Emrakul also has what I think if we wanted to, we can consider like the LQR, the Legolas's quick reflex effect. When you're playing Glarb, you know that's in your list and you know that it's an option in the back of your mind. No one playing against you is like, I wonder if he's about to Legolas's quick reflexes. It's just not on people's radar, and so it gives you a really strong effect that people are not going to expect. And then also it's got the thing that all Eldrazi have, which it is an on cast trigger.
I'm gonna run this in Glarb,
which means it doesn't have to like resolve.
Did you hear me?
You're gonna put it in Glarb?
I'm gonna run it.
Oh man, dude, I gotta play your list again.
No, just take out Bane of Progress and put this in.
That's crazy.
Like I haven't cast Bane of Progress. Like I love the card to death.
Yeah, it's super.
I haven't cast it in 10 games, And like, not to say that I couldn't have
can't
tutored.
take it out. It's on our play mat.
I'll find another deck to put that thing in. But like, no, dude, I'll just play this.
But I mean, like, you see why this card is insane.
No. I there's no argument for me. The card is nuts.
I think there's a lot of reasons why it should not go in every deck. But I think that it is something
Any
that
deck
more
that
people
mildly
should
uses
consider.
the graveyard should probably run it, or at least try it. Like Larb, like I can start stuffing the yard.
You can get it super duper cheap.
I can cast it off the top.
Are you on Invasion?
What?
Invasion for Ikoria?
Invasion of Ikoria?
Yeah.
That's the battle?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
One finale.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking because that's another way to get Emrakul even.
Oh, just like another type.
Because it's looking for types.
That's so
dumb. But yeah, I mean, you'll fill your graveyard up really, really quickly. And you could always scheming symmetry someone and then Emrakul.
Okay, I kind of like this. So I brought up Mnemonic Betrayal earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I brought up Mnemonic Betrayal earlier, and I've been having discussions with a few players about it, and I think people don't quite understand why I'm so high on that card. I have my own opinions about the card, but I'm going to propose to you, if you're in Dimir, would you run that card in the tournament setting?
I think...
or Dimir Plus.
Yeah, I think you know this about me. I don't know... I try to talk about it, but I don't know if a lot of people know this. I try incredibly hard to stay away from using words like always, objective, auto-include, or anything in this domain of like, oh, you just have to run this card. Mnemonic Betrayal is, I think, the closest I come to saying like auto-include.
Yeah, I would never cut it. Like, I also try to not use those affirmative, like always or never things. Only Sith deal in absolutes. but like, if I'm in Dimir, that shit is never leaving my deck.
Yeah.
It's too strong.
It is incredibly strong. And it could be our bias
it's not even,
because we're in such sloggy games, but...
I say strong, but like the potential is so high, right? Because like if the game goes long and there's like 30 cards in yard for everyone, or let's say if there's even 10 cards in yard for your opponents, yourself included, there's 10 cards in yard, then you go, okay, well, how many of those cards are lands? I don't know, probably a third of them. So, okay, then you're down to 7 cards per opponent. That's 21 cards for a Mnemonic Betrayal. What's the chances that you're going to have a tutor, a rock,
bro? Like
pretty high, right?
Like
or like a counterspell.
The floor for Mnemonic Betrayal that I've seen, right, is like Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Fish, Esper Sentinel, Vampiric Tutor.
To be a little bit more charitable to the naysayers of the card, I think the floor is you keep your you mull down a 4. You keep a certainly mid, land Soul Ring Signet and like a tutor, or land Soul Ring Signet and like Esper Sentinel. And then your draw for turn is Mnemonic Betrayal. And you're like, what the fuck do I do with this?
That's a really good example of when that card feels bad. Actually, that's a really good.
Sure. But like, okay, that feels bad. But
you could draw a lot of cards that feel bad in that situation though.
That's also true. But
oh, what am I gonna do with this Emrakul?
Yeah, I just like I think to myself, like, this to me is like Mnemonic Betrayal because the ceiling is so ludicrously high that like I just can't consider cutting it. Because there's so many situations where, oh no, I have 3 mana, or I have like 15 mana open. Right, and then 3 of that mana.
No one is going to expect this after you calling Ritual.
No, but even just like
no one is going to
late game, you're like,
oh no,
I'm gonna throw out a Mnemonic Betrayal and just kind of see what happens. And then like, if nobody has anything, you're like, oh, I just win. It's nuts.
Yeah. One last thing that I would want to say about this card. Having talked to a bunch of people who have played it, I think this is a great example of this card is fun with a capital F. Like, people who play this card well, it can put you in some. Oh man, you're gonna have to call the judge over at least 3 or 4 times to figure out how to resolve like random stuff. But
people don't like you touching their cards or their stuff.
Okay, clarify. It's fun for you. People aren't going to be super stoked walking away from the table after you killed them with their own deck. But I think especially if you have if you're getting tired of grinding tournaments because you just keep seeing the same old. You're gonna.
It just doesn't matter if it gets counted.
There's gonna be a lot of rubbernecks when you cast that.
Yeah, I can imagine a situation where like your game is going to time, all the other pods are finished. They come to crowd around your table, and people start whispering, "Oh my god, he's got! Oh my god, he's got
an Emrakul.
It's coming around to his turn. I can't wait to see this."
Yeah.
So it's a cool card. I think
I've also seen it in situations. Like I said, the other main brewer for Lumra, Alec, started this, and so what he did is he would, if it was going into someone's win turn where they had a silence effect, he would crack E-Zone and cast it in end step, so that he got their turn that they had protected under silence. And so he would use their silence to set up his board state because you still have access to all of your cards and all of your resources, right? This is why people are running this card, is because it opens doors that everyone agree should be closed forever, but it opens them on cast. And it's got protection from instants for some weird reason.
It's kind of what makes me want to play Zolidoc.
Oh, let's go, bro.
Anyway, I'm sure this is not the last you'll see of this card on this channel.
Cloning it doesn't do shit either because it's a cast trigger.
All right.
You can't commandeer it because the trigger's already on the stack.
I'm going to be up at night thinking about this card.
Word of command. Dude, speaking of something you're going to have to call a judge over, every time I've seen this spell cast, it's resolved in a time extension.
I think the important part down here is the Oracle text. 2 black, instant. Look at target opponent's hand and choose a card from it. You control that player until word of command finishes resolving. That player plays that card if able. While doing so, the player can activate mana abilities where, basically you can pay for the spell. And then I think you choose the targets. You control the player while the spell is resolving. It's weird.
It's super weird. So let's say someone, in their upkeep, they have a silence or something. You can cast this, target them. You can't overpay with mana, but you can definitely pay incorrectly. If someone has a swamp and a command tower, you can tap the command tower. And then, you can make them use a tutor to get a land, or use a deadly relic to hit their own Marnies or something.
This spell has only been cast against me once, and if I recall correctly, it was a Crick player.
Same here.
And I was playing Rogsai. They had an OBM, and they targeted me, thinking that I had a wheel. They were correct. And I was like, no, not like this. So I swatted it to I think it was a Sithis player or something. And then they didn't find anything. And I was like, cool.
Only the Sithis steal in absolutes.
Yeah. So the ceiling is moderately high on this, but the floor is really low.
The floor is really, really low.
And it's got to take a mono black deck to play it, I think. Because then you're kind of deep into the well.
I can see Talion on this. Dude.
I don't like that.
Dude, if you're in Hawaii and you recently did really well at Fishbowl.
God, who would you be talking about?
You should take a look at this card. This I think is a great example of, I don't care how long you've been around Magic. If you think you've seen it all, you're just wrong. This card is so cool. Run this card. Let us know how it goes.
Yep. Italian players only.
Next tab. Freedom Waffle says, what are your thoughts on draws in cEDH? Is there a way to fix them that doesn't bring worse problems?
Jeez.
Well, let's set the stage because I think
this is something we're gonna have our probably a separate video about on our thoughts on draws, and I think honestly, like the time limit that we've been imposing has really been fixing most of the problems.
I think because we had at our tournaments, we had an experience where in round 4, 75% of the pods resulted in draws.
Okay.
Right? If I remember that
sounds
correctly.
really bad, but one would argue that we didn't need a round 4.
Yeah.
Right? Because like everyone was kind of locked up into their placements already at that point, and just adding another round for the sake of it. Because like I think we were pretty low on player. Like it was like a 28 player tournament.
I think in that one, I think only 2 of those pods were IDs.
I mean, maybe that's true, but like I still don't think we need to play like based on the top deck guidelines. We didn't need a 4th round.
Oh, gotcha.
Because that's kind of what happens. Like if you take that to its logical conclusion, if you have 32 players and you play 7 rounds, why are you playing rounds 4 through 7?
Yeah,
like, there's no real reason to.
Yeah.
But
everyone at the bottom is like, maybe if I win 4, and everyone at the top is like, let's ID and take another dinner break.
But going back to like our current strategy of imposing a time limit, I think it's been feeling pretty good. I don't think IDs are a problem. I really don't care.
Were there a lot of draws at the Heisenberg?
I don't think there was a notable amount. I think there was a fair amount.
Yeah, there definitely were. I think I remember some people talking about it during the middle of Swiss, but I don't think there was an incredibly large bubble going in.
There were also a time limit imposed at Heisenberg. It was 30-minute time limit. So the 30-minute time limit is just, once you're at time at 80 minutes, you have 30 minutes to resolve the game. Otherwise, the game just draws immediately.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's on the stack, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is something that like, I agree with the viewpoint that you're putting forth. My personal experience, about as anecdotal as it gets, over the last specifically month, has been that draws haven't been as common as they were. I think Fishbowl was kind of like a touchstone moment for like a large portion of the CEDH community.
Yeah,
at least
the event was
season.
so large, right? And then there was so much media and stuff coming out from the event, and people talking about draws and the draws are the problem and all that stuff, and like, yeah, and like all the negative press about drawing, people don't want to anymore because it's just like, oh well, now I'm part of the problem. Now I'm drawing, but like you cannot make draws worth 0.
Yeah,
you just can't, because then people start throwing games to each other because like, oh, his breakers are better. If he wins, then my opponent win percentage is higher, and then I'm better because now my breakers are exclusively on opponent win percentage.
Yeah,
right.
So we've been talking a lot about like the floor and the ceiling of cards or different problems. The way I think draws can become problematic is if a draw is someone's ceiling in a game. And I think a lot of times players, as they develop these kind of analytical and observational skills, they can see the writing on the wall maybe a little too prematurely. And so they will start aiming, gunning, tutoring for draws before they should. And that in and of itself is a problem. What you're communicating is that if draws are worth 0, the floor just drops out from so many people. And once their ad-nos gets countered, once they tainted pact for interaction and they hit their Thassa's Oracle, instead of being able to rest at like the potential for like 1 point, if they can make their opponent have it, if they can continue playing at peak performance, instead now they're living in a world where they're absolutely utterly fucked, and the best thing they can do is try to finagle whichever opponent has the worst opponent win percentage into winning. Right? Highest win per.
Because you want your opponents to have a lot of wins.
You want your opponents. Okay.
Because then you go, my opponent win percentage is really high, and therefore I'm using that as a breaker to beat out people's opponent win percentage is lower than mine.
Or I guess it could also put you in weird situations where, like, if I've lost the ability to win, they have 10 points, they have 10 points, and you have 5 points. I want to make you guys all duke it out, or I don't know.
It's just.
You start doing weird math when draws are worth 0. It doesn't work. I feel like
if you put any amount of thought into draws being worth 0, it breaks down immediately. There's no world in which it works.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other comments that we often get is, well, draws need to be worth less or wins need to be worth more, which doesn't change anything because wins are already worth so much more than draws that you have to have 5 draws to equal a win. But like, that's so unlikely throughout the course of a 7-round tournament that like it's already insurmountable. So like if wins are worth 7 and draws are worth 1, then you've changed that math specifically, but no other situation. Because if you're 3 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, at 5 points you're at 15, 17 points, right? And then if you're at 7 points for wins, then it's like 21, 20, 23 points.
Okay.
And like, okay, that's different, right? Your draws are worth less, but like anyone that's at the same amount of draws as you or whatever, it just, all the math works out the same.
So maybe stepping aside from the numbers portion.
Yeah.
I mean, but
that's what a lot of the YouTube and Reddit commenters focus on the numbers.
I would agree.
Sure.
I think the numbers though are a path at disincentivizing draws, right?
I don't think that changing the systems around scoring will disincentivize draws in any meaningful way.
Another thing that I've kind of seen in the kind of like online debatosphere is that there's like
the manosphere.
There's like a cultural issue around draws.
I would agree with that.
Do you think CEDH players are just too horny for draws?
Or just horny for points. Like anything that just says 0 is like not good.
Yeah, unless it's a counter spell, in which case give me more.
Yeah, more free stuff. But yeah, I don't want to draw, right? Because I want points. Or sorry, I don't want to lose because I want points. And if my only path to points is drawing, then like that's what I want to do. But it sets me aside from people that are losing, and like that's what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm better than the losers, and like you are too, and you are too. Like it's
but
like you can't draw in top 16. So like, what do you care? Like, you know what I mean?
I think I've been coming to the point where I have ended up in so many situations where like the draws I've had in the end like don't really end up mattering.
But I've also had lots of situations where I go 2-0-3 at a 5-round event, and like I'm at 13. That's pretty good, right? That's better than 10.
Definitely better than 10,
right? But that's like significantly better than 10. And I mean that means I didn't lose a game.
I specifically talking about tournaments though have also been in situations where I can spend 4 hours, 2-hour games in overtime, getting 2 points. Or I could be 30 minutes into the first game and not out of like despair or hopelessness, just like push, not have it. Go grab some water, get some Cheetos or whatever, come into the next game, be recharged, hit a home run, have 5 points. And I am trying to get better about, like, sometimes I think it's really important for me to like dig my heels and give every ounce of all I've got to get even just 1 point. And other times, if it's earlier in a tournament, I'm trying to get better about like, is this the hill I want to die on?
It's really hard to know.
Yeah,
I think
there's not a right answer there.
It's something that we're all struggling with. I think the biggest thing about draws is games that you shouldn't win, like just because you mulled down to 2 and you're like, I don't have anything, I'm seat 4, like little old me, and then you're able to squeak out a draw and you're like, I wasn't supposed to win that game, I was supposed to lose, and like, oh my god, I have 1 point now,
that feels really good,
right? But like, you can't take that potential away from that person in that situation.
I completely agree.
Like, that's part of competing is trying to get any sort of legal advantage you can in order to win the event.
Yeah.
Right. So if there is a even minor advantage to drawing, you should be shooting for that if you can't win.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you need to have that option.
Yeah, I definitely would be very pro keeping draws at one point. I think for the most part, I like the system that we're in, and I do feel like finding other avenues of like adjusting the amount of rounds in tournaments or just the amount of times in tournaments are good ways of addressing problems in other areas that have the knockdown effect of reducing the amount of draws.
I think that we need to unban proactive cards that are not toxic. I don't think Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus are toxic. I think they're proactive cards that do not push you into draws in any way. Maybe they get you an earlier study, but if you're getting an earlier study, then you're probably going to win that game. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you get a turn 1 study, like I don't lose games where I get a turn 1 Ristic study.
Turn 1 study rules.
Right. But unban the proactive cards. I don't think that the changing the game systems, I think Top Deck has done a really, really good job of using data and experience and player feedback to refine the systems we have. I think the systems we have are really good.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of refinement we can add with things like round timers and overtime timers and things like that. But it's going to come down to card pool. Like, we didn't have this draw problem when we had the most proactive meta that cEDH has had in a long time.
That's a really good point.
We had Dockside and we weren't drawing games.
Yeah. No,
You were either winning or losing. And like, okay, like that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's not to say whether Dockside was healthy or unhealthy for the format. But
the two cards you recommended aren't a part of any particular color wedge.
Good.
Yeah, they're both colorless.
Good. Power up our format. Make our format faster. Make it better.
We can be trusted.
I mean, okay, that takes all the credibility away from what I was just saying. No, I really do think like, yeah, we're a powerful format. We deserve powerful cards. I don't think that there's anything inherently broken about those two cards, aside from not when you put them compared to cards like Nadu or compared to cards like Dockside.
Yeah, I think
we have plenty of broken cards that are equally as broken as those cards in our format right now.
The word you use of like toxic, I think makes a lot of sense to me. It's not that they're powerful, it's not that they're fast, it's not that they're ubiquitous with a certain color shell or that you just have to be playing them. There's so many cards that you already have to be playing, but it's that they increase the amount of games that people play and they walk away from them and they go, dude, I never want to play against that deck again. And that's not the type of like.
That's not a Mana Crypt.
No.
Sensibility. It's not.
Yeah,
Mana Crypt creates these stories where, oh man, my opponent just had Mana Crypt, land.
Yeah.
We
lost it. We lost a turn 1 ad naz.
Yeah, like, oh my god, my opponent turboed out a Ristic Study and a Remora, and I didn't have a way to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine. Like, they had the nuts. Like, I don't care.
Our format can find unique and creative ways of solving turn 1 Niv Mizzet Perun easier than it can resolve fixing turn 2 Ristic Study X4.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't think that the draw problem is a systems problem. I think it's a tuning problem with the card pool because we didn't see it before.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't. We did not have nearly as many draws.
When Ristic Study was a big deal back then, but it wasn't nearly as big a deal as the next big boogeyman.
Yeah.
Right. So like now it's the next thing. We're on to the next thing, and the next thing is drawing a shit ton of cards, sitting behind a draw engine because there's no speed. And like there's no incentive to counter a Ristic.
I've seen so many. That's actually maybe this is actually a really great transition to our next tab here.
Oh, okay.
I've seen so many ad naz whiffs. I forgot this one was in here.
This is not the right tab, but it is very funny.
This is a wise and creative solution to draws.
So Max P.
This is hilarious. I would do this.
I have solved the draw problem. When you hit 80 minutes, everyone has to eat a California Reaper pepper until someone wins.
I would play in a Magic pod where me and all of my opponents consume one of these as a pregame action.
Did you see what I said? Take it as a suppository.
Oh man, dude. Getting a hernia.
God, I would be yapping so quickly. Based. God, I love gold. Yeah, I think Ristic. Excuse me. I'm dying. I think Ristic Study is really just giving people the ability to yap, and especially because, it's like the Mr. Meeseeks joke we made earlier. It's like, I'm not supposed to be alive this long. Like, I want to go fast. I want to win. And if I need 2 rocks to do that.
It prioritizes and elevates stalling as a game tactic of just keeping the game going.
It's a legitimate tactic right now, and like I don't fault people for using it.
Yeah.
So, what was the next tab you were talking about?
The bring back of Rogsai.
Did I skip a tab?
I think we may have accidentally closed it, but that's okay.
Oh,
The Reddit one gets there.
Okay.
Because they're talking about Cody the Codex, and if anyone is still playing it, post Dockside, Mana Crypt, and Jeweled Lotus. And you were part of this, I believe, because I think you got in an argument with someone.
That's me right about here. I was like, the first comment is, from my experience, Cody is like kind of like a one-time deck. Like you figure it out, you figure out the lines, and then all of your opponents forever in the future figure out all the lines, and then you go, okay, well, I know how to stop the deck. And then the OP says, but that's just like Turbo Naz decks in general. And like Turbo Naz in its own right has a lot of problems because it can't really convert a Naz pile into a win.
Yep.
Because we don't have Dockside anymore.
Yeah, not as well as it used to. It can still happen. It can still happen.
Happening way less consistently.
In the same way that I never saw draws like 6 or 7 months ago, I never saw an Ad Naz whiff. Whereas now there is a legitimate argument for me to say like,
remind me.
No, let it resolve. I want to see what happens.
Remind me to close out this podcast with how I killed an Ad Naz player.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and then I commented back. I said, no, actually, the problem with Cody specifically is that it cannot pivot into other plans because Cody is a Naz first deck.
Yeah, Naz only.
Naz only, and then also like it even runs Bring to Light. So like it's running another 5 mana card just to find Naz.
Yeah.
Because it's able to find Naz off of Bring to Light and cast it for free. But then like it can't play permanents when Cody's out. No one's gonna kill Cody. They're like, yeah, dumbass. You don't play in permanents. Like,
yeah. You got a stack speech in the command zone. Congrats.
Yeah, you're staxing yourself out. And then this guy goes on and says like, oh, Cody can play Ristic Study. And it's like, no Cody decks play Ristic Study because it does not play permanents. And I'm speaking from actual experience because I worked with Emily not too long ago. This was actually post-ban on playing Cody. And she liked it. She liked a lot of the elements. She's a degenerate turbo player at heart. She loves to play these like, oh, I'm just going to go fast. I'm just going to win. But then she would have these consistency problems where it's not her that's faulting. It's the deck. The deck has an inherent problem right now where it cannot convert a Naz pile. It often just kills itself. And then if your Naz gets countered or it gets interacted with in any way, you just sit there and go, oh, shit, I don't have a plan.
Yeah, it's it reminds me of when we were talking to Gold Saber-tooth about Rog Thras. And he was in a game with a Rog Thras, and they were like, well, you need to draw me cards so I can find interaction. If you draw your Cody player an Emerald Charm, that does not count as interaction. In the same way that maybe they'll run into like a random like Archdruid's Charm or something random like that. Yeah. It's a deck that not only in terms of win conditions, but also in terms of how you interact with the table, doesn't give you a lot to work with. And I think that
there's not like a lot of tools or even like flexible tools there at all.
It makes it rough. And in a world where like like 7 months ago, like 80% of the meta was like turbo, basically. Like even like the mid-range decks were turboing out. Like Sisay was super duper fast. But now everything is so mid-rangey that like decks like Tivit need to have ways to be relevant early game and late game, right? You know, Esper Shells are running like curse totems and stuff like that to prevent people from running away with it. And I just think the turbo Nas plan can't be the only thing that your deck does.
Does this look like healthy deck stats to you?
Oh my! Oh,
So in 60 plus player tournaments post ban, which is September 26th or whatever.
Oh man!
Which has been a significant amount of time since then.
Oh, that's brutal.
There's been 9 entries of Cody.
Oh, that hurts to look
of those
at.
9 entries, 0% of them have converted to top 16.
Man, it's less than 1% of the meta. Oh man!
So like, what are we even talking about here? Like let's do our research. Let's like look at actual decks that are performing well. Let's look at the archetypes. I mean, Turbo Nas decks are just not performing. And like, if we had a little bit of that, like little speed, a little little something,
A little bit
like,
of blow,
yeah. I think the tab we're missing here is it was Data Tog, right? Yeah. Oh, I got it right here. Ooh, gas. Yeah, I mean, like we can see Rogsai like just fell off. Like, what happened? Did your balls fall off? Like, it just kind of fell off a cliff, and then like it's starting to see a resurgence here. I think people are starting to learn that like the deck is still capable, still powerful. There's also alternative strategies coming up for it. I'm playing or championing Rogsai, and I'm actually one of these data points here somewhere in here. I think probably up here. And like I got second in a 60 plus player tournament with Rogsai. But I think it takes a little bit for decks like this to be figured out and kind of recover from these giant hits. Yeah. But I don't think that Cody's one of those decks that is going to recover.
Like I think we've seen Itali kind of coming back. We're seeing Rogsai. Cody, we see you.
We love you.
We love you.
Cody is a deck in which you take a casual player.
We're not competing against you in top 16. Sorry.
We've never, like a casual player's never even looked at cEDH. They've heard of it. They go, oh, these players just want to go fast. And I could explain Cody to them in a way in which they will think that is the best deck in the format. They will go, oh my God, it's so simple. You just cast the commander, you make 5 mana, you cast a spell, you draw 3/4 of your deck. And then how can you lose when 3/4 of your deck is in your hand? And then they're given no context about the rest of the meta, the way things are going, anything like that. It's one of those decks where it's almost a caricature of itself at this point, sadly. So, anyway, that's enough of us talking about Cody. I think the thing I wanted to close out on was our little Adnos story.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll set the stage and then you tell the story. Last round of Swiss before Top Cut. It's the first game of the morning. After we played Magic, the
winning
in
for us.
Us and like probably another quarter of the tournament went to get Fogo de Chao the day before, so we're both recovering for the meat sweats. We sit down, we have the player meeting. They say, these are not your pods. Don't pull your stuff out. We get our pod. It is, in fact, the pod we were in at the player meeting.
I think we shuffled like 2
around.
seeds.
And so we're tired. We need
Who's
to win.
in the pod?
We all need to win. It is me. It's you. It's another Colorado player. I think they're from the Springs, actually. It's a Zur player. And then
Zerda as well.
And a Zerda player.
Zur the Enchanter and Zerda Dawnwaker.
As far as I'm aware, there's 2 really big kind of Zerda players. One of them's on Power Balance, which is the one I played against in the top 16, and then the other one isn't. This is a player that isn't. I apologize for not having more Zerda-based information.
But I met this guy before. Like, he's nuts. He's really good.
So, and then help me figure out what was the seeding order.
I don't remember the seed order. I remember it was like turn 2 or something like that.
It was Zerda, Glarb, Zur, and then me and Kodama Ishine fourth.
Okay, and then it's like turn 2. I'm playing Glarb. I don't really have much to do other than pass. I think the Zur has like a turn 2 Ranger Captain.
Yep.
Right. Oh yeah. So we're going to his turn 3. On my end step, he cracks Ranger Captain.
Correct.
And I go, well, shit. I don't have anything for this.
Ranger Crackton. Yeah.
And he casts what I was not expecting, which was Adnos.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know Zur ran that card.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, I guess you do you, King. Like, have it. He's going. He goes down to like 9 or something like that. And I think the last card he rips is like a Force of Will, or like something that's like bigger. So it's like 4 or 5. So he takes like a chunk and he goes down to 4.
Yeah. So I believe he went down to 10, kept going. I think he got an Estrid's Invocation, which is 5. No, it's 3. It's 3.
Yeah.
So he goes
like 7.
And then I think the next one he got was a Force Negation. So he's at 4, and he's like, well, I got something to pitch the Force Negation, I guess.
Yeah. And we're like, okay. So he goes down to 4. He untaps, goes into his turn. And so I'm starting to think to myself, I'm like, oh man, like, what do I have? Okay. Keep in mind, I'm voiceless. I cannot speak, still, have the itis or whatever. And I've got a boogie board and like a prayer. I don't have a way to communicate.
And a pen.
Oh yeah. So I don't have a way to adequately communicate.
Yeah.
So anyway, untapping, I'm thinking to myself, like, how do I deal with this? Eric's like, it's not even my turn 3 yet. Like I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And then we have Zerda, which is like, it's red white. No offense to Zerda, but their game plan is not to interact.
They did not have Reprieve mana up.
Yeah.
But they're on it.
What I start to piece together, though, is because we haven't been doing a whole lot, I have a Deathrite Shaman in which I've exiled like 1 or 2 kind of like
You had a few lands.
sorceries or whatever. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this has an ability where if I exile an instant or sorcery from an opponent's graveyard, they lose 2 life. Or, sorry, the whole table loses 2 life, not target player. Pew, 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 pew. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh, cool. And I look at the Zerda player board, the Zerda player's board, and he has a Walking Ballista on 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my God, 2 + 2 equals 4. The Zerda player has 4 life. And so I'm literally writing on the boogie board as fast as I can, 2 + 2 equals 4. And I'm showing it to the Zerda player across from me. Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm pointing at his thing and pointing at my thing going, and he goes, okay, I see it. Meanwhile, Azur's like looking through half of his deck that's in his hand and like, whatever. And so he goes to cast some stuff and, my goodness, Roger is, I think he's ready for us to be done.
Dang, this is the song of his people, bro.
So he's casting some stuff. I go, okay, it's time for us to do this before it gets too bad. Before he casts like a Grand Abolisher or something like that. Yeah, right. So I go, I'm going to activate Deathrite Shaman and exile your Ad Nauseam. Because that was the only instant or sorcery in the yard. And he goes, oh shit. And he's like down to 2. And then
like he picks up on what's going on.
Oh yeah, I mean he's not dumb. Like he's really like, well, you're doing this for a reason, right? Like, and then that takes him off of tutors like Vamp Tutor, MCL, whatever. And then the Zerda player goes, okay, I'm going to remove 1 counter and point it at your face, and resolves or whatever. I think we're doing this in response to him casting the 1 ring, because then he gains protection. He can't get pinged by the Zerda.
The add-ons he revealed a 1 ring and an Angel's Grace. So and not like enough to like keep pushing through towards like a win. So he was
enough to do both as well. So he's casting 1 ring. And so he goes down to 1, and then he goes and does another, and so. No, he didn't have Angel's Grace.
What he did have was
a Swords to Plowshares. He had a Swords to Plowshares, which he swords his own Esper Sentinel to gain 1 life. And so he's at 1. And I'm like, I have this really cool spell in my hand. It's called Legolas's quick reflex.
It's the LQR factor, bro. No one's ready for it. I saw you cast it targeting Deathrite Shaman, and I almost fell out of my chair.
And the only spell for me to exile was the Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I could have done Legolas's quick reflex, but regardless, we killed him, and then we ended up not dying to a Nas.
Yeah.
And then we had a slogfest of the three of us, and then I accidentally threw the game to Eric. Not intentionally, definitely accidentally threw. I was like, oh,
it was like you just got very unlucky with what I had in hand because you were able to like put a bunch of value pieces out and resolve a Seedborn, and so if I hadn't been able to win on my turn, if I hadn't had specifically the cards that I had in hand, you just win there. Because it was super duper.
You were jamming like a Teferi, and I was like, oh, I don't really have anything for
I
this.
was only able to win because I was able to bounce your Consecrated Sphinx, your Rhystic Study, and your OBM, and still have an extra spell left in hand to flicker my Teferi.
So sad, bro.
Like if that last one is a land, that game is yours. Yeah.
But anyway, all this story just goes to show Nos piles are not converting right now.
Nos piles are not converting. You're never out of the game, right?
Yeah.
Because that was a turn 3 ad Nos, and even though it wasn't a great ad Nos pile, there is a world where he just won rings and then wins on the next turn.
Yeah.
And there's a world where you're so in your own head about the fact that I can't believe I let this ad Nos through that you don't see the line. It also involved the Zerta player kind of picking up on what was going on.
There was a lot of factors.
There was a lot of factors there. It was a really fun game to be a part of.
I think it makes for a good story too. Unfortunately for the Zer player. Yeah. But anyway, we talked about a lot of stuff in this podcast. Anything to close out with?
Close out everywhere. Looking forward to seeing people at the last qualifier down in the Springs this weekend. If you're going to be there, stop by and say hi.
Yeah, it's kind of an unexpected add to our schedule for us, but I think it makes actually a lot of sense because you're still trying to get to the points threshold to get to the invitational, and I think I'm probably ready to like throw my hat into the ring for another competition because I took last weekend off and kind of ready to get back on the horse. I think kind of summarizing some of the things we talked about, Band's in a good place, Midrange is in a good place, tournaments are in a good place. It seems like Turbo is potentially not doing great right now, but that's mainly for not only where we are at like geographically, but also as players. And so I think a good way to close out is I know I would love to hear if you guys are in places where Turbo is doing really, really well, or if there are aspects of Adnaz that are really starting to shine or kind of on the horizon of being, in the minute in a big way. Let us know. If you're a Cody player, sorry.
Yeah.
sorry to hear that you picked up the deck after Dockside was banned.
Sorry, yeah. If you're at a tournament, we'll give you a firm handshake and say hello to the redemption event for us.
Yep. Real quick, have you seen Gifts at all?
Gifts? Nope. I saw 2 people talk about it being in their list. Never saw it in a game.
I saw it once, and then I saw it get countered the same right then. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know. I think a lot of us, myself included, because I was like, Gifts is atrocious. It should not be unbanned. But I think a lot of us put this sort of mental image of what these cards can do or will be or whatever. And then when it comes to reality, like Voice of Victory, I've seen it a few times, but has it really changed anything? Not really.
No, the biggest impact I've seen Voice of Victory having is it's too easy to cast. So you'll cast a Voice of Victory, then I copy it because and it makes it that much easier to have a silence effect.
Yeah. I haven't really seen Gifts a whole lot.
No.
Haven't heard a lot of good things about it, so it's kind of strange.
I don't think it's like unlocked any decks. I think
there will be a few.
I still think Jessica and Esper are probably going to like it more than a lot of other wedges.
Jessica and her Kai.
Well, hey, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for taking this journey with us. Thanks for listening to us yap about all the different things happening in cEDH right now.
And hopefully next time we'll have our voices back and feel back to 100%.
Absolutely. And with that, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.